Ladies and gentlemen, will you please be seated?
Good evening. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the Garland Independent School District, I would like to welcome all the graduates, their families, their friends to these commencement exercises this evening. I would especially like to congratulate all of the graduates and tell you that the entire district is proud of your accomplishments as a class and your accomplishments as individuals. You have represented your school, your community, and your families in an exemplary manner. We wish the best for you as you pursue your post-high school opportunities, and we look forward to your future and the difference you will make in our world. Parents, we thank you for allowing us to be a small part of the lives of these graduates. It has been a privilege. Lastly, on this important day, graduates, I ask that you be thankful. I know that you're proud, and I ask that you be safe. Congratulations, Naaman Forrest, class 2004.
And now the band and choir combined will do the Battle Hymn of the Republic. We would appreciate it if you would not yell, please.
Terrible
While we're waiting for our graduates in the choir and in the band to get situated, and while we wait for the Val and Sal to make their way up to the stage, I do want to remind everybody that the graduation ceremony, this is a formal event. It is not a basketball game. It is not a indoor soccer game. So if you will give the graduates respect, and if you will refrain from hollering during the course of the ceremony and being disruptive, we would appreciate that. It is our intention when we start calling out the names for every graduate and every family to be able to hear their graduate's name. And if you are yelling or screaming when we're calling out the names, then you're going to take that privilege of a graduate or of that family from hearing their child's name called. So if you can refrain from being rude or disorderly while we're calling out the names, we would appreciate that. And now we will have Simrat Sanji.
Good evening, fellow classmates, teachers, friends, and family. We finally made it. It is our turn to graduate today, surrounded by family and friends who are here to witness our achievements. It is finally our turn to listen to the band play Pomp and Circumstance and to hear a long line of extensive graduation speeches. We all knew this day would come, whether or not we were ready for it, and I believe that we are all prepared for the next step in our lives. When I started to write this speech, I thought that I should say what my fellow classmates wanted to hear. So I filled the speech with jokes, silly remarks, and name drops. Then I began to think that I should say what the parents and teachers wanted to hear. So I tried to write an inspirational and highly intellectual speech. What I ended up with were two completely different speeches that did not reflect me as a person at all. I'm not all laughs all the time, nor am I a prim and proper intellectual. So I put the two speeches together and hopefully created a true representation of myself. Today marks a wealth of bright new beginnings and tearful goodbyes. I know that I will miss every aspect of high school. I will miss those who always found a way to crush me against the walls in the hallways. And I will miss the mob of people standing in front of my locker, oblivious to the words, "Please move." It will also be hard to say goodbye to the good old Naaman Forest parking lot and the drivers who use it. How will I ever get to class on time next year without the friendly reminders of fellow classmates racing towards me at top speed in their cars to hurry me on my way? What I will honestly miss next year, though, are the close ties I have with classmates and teachers here at the school. They are all part of a routine that has become quite comfortable over the years. I'll miss my physics diet, consisting of grilled cheese sandwiches and Kool-Aid. I'll miss all the after-school meetings that gave me a chance to catch up with people I didn't have in my classes, and I'll miss talking with friends in the middle of the hall before running to class just in time for the bell. Although it will be difficult to say goodbye, the new experiences we will encounter in the future will make it worth our while. There will be new friends, new opportunities, and new responsibilities. The harder you work and more educated you become, the more opportunities you will have. This graduation serves only as one step towards our future. It represents our hard work, our dedication, and the sacrifices we have made along the way. We sacrificed our beauty sleep for late-night cram sessions and last-minute essay writing. We sacrificed our time and energy for tutorials, whether we were helping others or getting help ourselves. And we sacrificed our sanity when we tried to tell ourselves that we actually understood calculus. However, we were not the only ones who made sacrifices, and we did not get here by ourselves. It is only through the guidance of our parents and teachers that we can achieve our goals. They instilled in us the right values and steered us in the right direction. With their guidance and our own determination, we built a strong foundation for us to grow both physically and mentally. They too sacrificed their time, energy, and money, and today we are one step closer to achieving the goals we have strived for together. I try to think of some profound thought to leave you here with today and realize that the few life experiences that I've had do not add up to a great deal of wisdom. However, in writing this speech, I recognize how important it is to be true to yourself and to not try to change for anyone. So in closing, I would like to leave you with a quote from the genius mind of Dr. Seuss. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Thank you and congratulations.
Good evening. Welcome, friends, family, and fellow graduates. I'm up here tonight because I managed to end up with the highest GPA in the class. Now, for some reason, that's supposed to mean that I somehow know more about life and that I should represent the class by imparting some final wisdom to everyone before running out the doors with diplomas in hand. Unfortunately, I'm rather short on life experience, and we're only fooling ourselves if anyone really thinks I'm going to be able to impart some wisdom. So let this be my disclaimer for the rest of this speech. Results not typical, results will vary, and so on. Every one of you have tales to tell, probably a lot more dramatic, funnier, and more exciting than mine. But since I'm the one up here, if I have to endure this, so do you. So, how did we get here? Each of us reached this point through different experiences. For me, it was Mr. Baker's "Good morning, Naaman Forrest." And what about those green sheets he always reminded us about? Those late-night phone calls to my Uncle Maynard, a math teacher in Pennsylvania, who helped me through calculus. If he hadn't stopped guarding his pink flamingo, I'd be hosed. By the way, Uncle Maynard, did they ever get that pink flamingo? Mr. Schnitzer's "Guys, guys, guys," and "One more time." The bee in my pants during marching season. Hearing teachers say, "Your paper only has to be as long as it takes to explain your point," and finally realizing they're lying. Mr. Witt's intentional sneezes during a test, which scared us half to death. Coach Adams' "God bless America," and "Put her there, son." Mr. Garrett's "Buena Buebue," which means dog. And ultimately, Jesus Christ, because he has blessed me with parents who constantly support me through their love, prayers, and money. And he has also blessed me with friends who challenge me, laugh with me, and at me. And for his unconditional love and grace, I'm eternally grateful. So what do we do now? Well, that's easy. Carpe diem, seize the day. Here's a quote from all places, a Hallmark card. The past is history and the future is a mystery. This moment is a gift, and that's why they call it the present. And from the Bible, now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. We need to realize just how finite and precious each day is. This became very real to myself and others with the untimely death of our classmate and friend, Lindsay Kimmons. So where do we go from here? Well, graduations are often likened to a door closing on the past behind us. We're looking ahead to the future, closing the door behind us, and storing the past in the closet. Some of us will look into that closet repeatedly to reminisce about our bygone youth. Others will pick through it occasionally, remembering the good parts. Some will slam the door shut, push all their weight against it, throw 5 deadbolt locks across the door, wedge it shut with the chair, and run as if they're a rabid animal in there, not looking back. So each of us has a purpose in life to fulfill. I don't know what your purpose is, but God does. He told the prophet Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." Live your life for the purpose you have been created and called to, and live it out. Remember, you cannot be defeated, and you will not quit. Look at Mel Gibson's The Passion. It was God's purpose for him to make this film. Facing impossible odds, no outside funding, he was made fun of by friends and critics alike. There were no major studios who wanted to distribute this film. Yet he was not defeated, and he did not quit. Let the results speak for themselves. We need, we must, and we will do the same. So let me finish with this. Fellow graduates, borrow money from a pessimist. They don't expect it back. Parents, be nice to your kids. They'll choose your nursing homes. And teachers, as long as there are tests, there will be prayers in public schools. And And finally, good evening, Naaman Forest graduates. It's going to be a beautiful evening to graduate. And remember, obey all those traffic laws and drive home safe. Thank you, and God bless.
Will the class please rise? Mr. Montgomery, Mr. Harris, on behalf of the faculty of Naaman Forest High School, I certify that these students have completed the required courses for graduation as set forth by the Texas Education Agency and the Board of Trustees of the Garland Independent School District. It is great pride that I recommend that this class be named graduates. Mr. Montgomery.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Ladies and gentlemen, this commencement exercise marks the end of the public school years for these young men and women standing before us. As a representative of the Garland Independent School District Board of Trustees, I congratulate each one of you on achieving this goal. Congratulations are also due to your parents, to your teachers, and the administrators who have guided you through your academic career. This gathering today stands as a symbol of true accomplishment. These students have successfully fulfilled their course requirements and will receive a diploma that's recognized throughout the country. Seniors, please know that we're very proud of you and we're equally excited about your future. Mr. Harris?
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Good evening, seniors, soon-to-be graduates, parents, honored guests. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. It's always an honor to serve in this district as trustee, but it's a particular honor tonight for me and Mr. Montgomery, for we share in the matriculation of your student with one of our own. And for that, we appreciate. Therefore, it is with great pleasure, Mr. Baker, that I accept this class for graduation upon the recommendation of the faculty and the administration of Naaman Forest High School. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and the administration, I hereby pronounce you graduates of Naaman Forest High School. May God bless each and every one of you in your endeavors. Mr. Baker.
Class, prepare to receive your diplomas.
Trevor Daniel Young, valedictorian, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Simrat Kaur Sandhu, salutatorian, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Crystal Elizabeth Travey, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Scott Shaw Montgomery, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Christopher Richard Armstrong, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Andrew James Peavy, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Abigail Christine Edge, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jennifer Marie Walshide, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Rosalind Honglam Nguyen, Distinguished Achievement Candidate, Texas Scholar. Elizabeth Lim Way, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Renee Lentelman, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Danielle Johanna Horn, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kimberly Diane Hawthorne, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Susan Tessia Graham, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kristen Elizabeth Edwards, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Cindy Tang Nguyen, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Courtney Renee Keene, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Erica Kathleen Hill, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Rose Marie Hanson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Nicole Shields, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Stephen Andrew Weber, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Kevin Lee McGill II, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Allison Renee Lau, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Joyce Chung, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Caitlin Dara Rohr, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Brianna Lee Blair, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Noor Alan Malik, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Damian Lamar Cuffey, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amrita Nagra, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Craig Timothy Clement, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Brandy Nicole Post, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Immaculata Uzoma Akalika, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Mallory Renee Hudgens, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Minnie Grace Varghese, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Daniel Ray Renault, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Meredith Lee Meals, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Keenan Shane Knight, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kelsey Elizabeth Garner, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Juan Landis Ontario Chapman, State Recommended, Texas Scholar, and perfect attendance for 12 years of school. Laura Vanessa Clark, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. James Lucas, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Kelly Lynn Jordan, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amanda Rose Cannon, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Juliet Elizabeth Amara, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Sarah Elizabeth Williams, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Blessy Priscilla Samuel, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Michael Scott Hammond, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tui Lil Nguyen, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kristen Amber Phillips, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Robert Andrew Black, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Brittany Nicole Graham, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Chloe Colleen Burns, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jessica Ann Rollinson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Blaine Philip Odom, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. David Pierce Fannin, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. James Ty Doe, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Seth Howell Prater, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Justin Tyler Wheeler, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Ashley Elizabeth Maloney, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amy Michelle Harmon, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Sammy Elias Abdulhalafez, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Camille Marie Reinhardt, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Matthias Tom West, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Bhumi Regan Kumar Patel, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Huang Tan Pham, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Matthew Thomas Bray, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Daniel James Mock, State Recommended, Texas Scholar, 12 years of perfect attendance. Andrew Kyung Stone, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Aaron Matthew Lebo, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Valerie Lynn Hannikin, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Danielle Watkins, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Lee Dang Nguyen, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. John Aaron Venable, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Hien Bic Lee, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Christopher Brent McNeil, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kristen Nicole Tenike, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kristen Nicole Meeks, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Sadie Lee Wainwright, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Lucy Maria Breitling, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ren Zon Miller, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Visme Gagabai Badihuala, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tara Nicole Gunther, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tiffany T. Nguyen, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Brianne Michelle Garrett, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amber Marie Hennig, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Alex Musashi Lopez, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Melissa Gina Park, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Christine Dunn, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Janice Mary Black, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Michael Christopher Ewing, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Melissa Renee Maddox, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Hui Kwok Lu, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Elizabeth Ann Ureto, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tiffany Lee Cherry, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Allison Marie Moe, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Michael Trey Gammon, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Megan Marie White, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Marisol Telez, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Micah August Mays, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Anna Elisa Carrillo, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Mitchell Jace Muncie, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Ryan Morse Castillo, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Evan Paul Anderson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Anthony Walter Swafford, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Christine Steinder, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Abigail Elizabeth Roberts, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. V. Huoc Nguyen, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Brianna Miranda Murphy, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Maya Dania Stanford, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Ross Garland Bishop, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Laura Nicole Swim, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kayla Elise Higginbotham, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Porter Brandis Hall, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Nicole Ottmer, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Robin Courtney Lyle, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Risa May Soledad Tutu, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. James Lawrence Key III, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jack Perales Jr., State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Nguyen Lin Ha, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Mayra Ramos Perez, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jennifer Diane Gibson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tiffany Eileen Turnball, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Druvang Naji Badihuala, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kristen Michelle Gillis, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kristen Marie McKinney, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Dalia Lopez, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Julie Han Fan, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Nicole Renee Burks, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Brittany Lynn Wardell, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Frankie Pang Demronsi, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Myrna Elizabeth Reyes, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Roderick Urias Johnson, Jr., State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Stephen Carl Anderson, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Ashley Kristen Sterrett, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Craig Joseph Johnson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kaylee Nicole Stegers, Distinguished Achievement. Wayne Allen Ray, Jr., Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Rachel Emek Janik, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Lori Catherine Kinzer, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Adam Jacob Uribas. Kelly Saxenian, State Recommended. Kristen Michelle Owens, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Salvador Salinas, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Megan Marie McNeil, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Michael David Rubio, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Megan Rachel Atterbury, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Nicole Christine Swingross, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Thomas Bradley Parker, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Courtney Elaine Graves, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Cody Nathaniel Kroll, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Timothy August Mills, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Natalie Elena Oliveira, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Q2 Pham, State Recommended. Adam Sean Nika, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Lauren Rachel Binkley, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Wesley Armando Zapata, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. James Nathan Thompson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Graham Hill Mallon, Jr., State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Brittany Nicole Lyles, State Recommended. Rachel Allison Salter, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Austin Travis York, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tiffany Renee Page, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Stephanie Iris Herreros, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Leo Allen Hammond, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jason William Willett, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ivan Say Staley, State Recommended. Angela Jean Weisner, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Shamika Latrice Biggs, State Recommended. Jeffrey Edward McKee, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Christine Rose Bearden, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Emily Michelle McCleary, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Laura Elise Grimes, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Bonita Manivong, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Laura Ann Doss, State Recommended. Brandon Christopher Heath, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Gerard Liddell Perryman, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Stephen David Moss, State Recommended. Danielle Marie Fossey, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kyle Christopher Kelly, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Veronica Ruth Capulong, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amy Lorraine Napier, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Rachel Catherine Martin, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Thanhan Tai Nguyen, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jason Benton Moeller, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Randy Lane Kent, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Candace Shea Richards, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Matthew David Lewis, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amanda Michelle Clifton, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Carrie Raylyn Sermon, State Recommended. Tam T. Trong, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. William Oscar Zollicoffer, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amy Suzanne Battles, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jonathan Michael Patrick, Distinguished Achievement, Texas Scholar. Taylor Plaxco Devaney, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Corey Daniel Edwards, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Susan George, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Megan Kimberly Holst, State Recommended. Andrew Timothy Johnson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Christy Leigh Coleman, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Micah Jean Simpson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Heather Lynn Elliott, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashton Leanne Ackles, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Raul Antonio Acosta, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Raquel Charlene Adams, State Recommended. Tawakalitu Damilola Ajuan, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Wesley Ryan Akins, State Recommended. Ismail David Alinis. Brandon Michael Alexander, State Recommended. Ryan Matthew Auger, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Katrina Lynette Allen, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ontarius Dewan Allen, State Recommended. Oscar Danielle Amaraz, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tanner Scott Anderson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Patrick Thomas Andrews, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kyle Robert Archibald, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Shannon Nicole Arnold, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Elizabeth Gail Atkins, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Catherine Deanne Austin, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Lindsay Rachelle Autry, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Rebecca Michelle Barlow, State Recommended. Danielle Nicole Barnett, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Wesley Adam Barr. Christina Marie Bateman, State Recommended. Brian Christopher Baxley, State Recommended. Laura Allison Beck, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Heather Lorene Bean, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Francisco Alejandro Bermejo. Shalonda Elizabeth Berry, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Sabrina Marie Bilski. Jonathan Michael Bischoff, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Rose Marie Bitters, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amanda Lee Blackford, State Recommended. Amber Lynn Blevins. Kristen Rochelle Bond, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Christian Manuel Bonilla, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jordan Lee Boughton, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Edward Charles Bowie Jr., State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Vanessa Clarice Bradley, State Recommended. Jennifer Diane Bragg, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Corey James Brazil, State Recommended. Weston Ross Britt, State Recommended. Timothy Noah Brooks, State Recommended. Cassandra Sherelle Brown, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Lydia Caffery Brown, State Recommended. Matthew Allen Brown, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Bradley Martin Bullitt, State Recommended. Maria de Los Angeles Burciaga. Maricruz Burciaga, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amanda K. Burns, State Recommended. Shauna Marie Burns, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Laura Elaine Boucher, State Recommended. Tara Lynn Butler, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kayla Marie Byers, state recommended. Grayson Clark Cadenhead, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Christopher Gabriel Khalidi, state recommended. Giovanni Alicio Calarco, state recommended. Jessica Dawn Kanzler, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Bonnie Marie Cantor, state recommended. Kimberly Nicole Caraway Glenn, state recommended. Emmanuel Caro Gonzalez, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Eric Ricardo Caro, state recommended. Natasha Maria Cavendish, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Robert Kent Cheney III, state recommended. Alicia Maria Chaparro. Veronica Josefa Chaparro, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Orlando Fitzgerald Chapman, state recommended, Texas Scholar, 12 years perfect attendance. Holly Nicole Leah Cheek. Gerald Ray Choi, state recommended. Jong Moon Choi, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Kevin Robert Clare, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Seth Taylor Clear, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Benjamin David Clemens, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Krista Carmen Cole. Lydia Mae Collins, state recommended. Catherine Annette Connaughton, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jeffrey Dale Cook, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jamie Sherelle Cooper, state recommended. Rachel Leanne Cooper. Zachary Gage Cooper, state recommended. George Luis Cordova Jr., state recommended. Jessica Nicole Cramp, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Christopher Damone Crenshaw. Krista Colleen Crocker, state recommended. Courtney Michelle Crosland, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Colby Lance Krause, state recommended. Mickey Lynn Cullum, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jasmine Alicia Cummings, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Janetta Joy Curtis, state recommended. Miranda Christine Dalka, state recommended. Amanda Lee Dancer, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Chastity Nicole Dancer. Philip Dang, state recommended. Tin Fu Dang, Texas Scholar, state recommended. Reagan Leanne Dantzler, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jana Danielle Davis, state recommended. Lauren Michelle Davis, state recommended. Robert Lee Davis, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Daryl Arthur D., state recommended, Texas Scholar. Victoria Jessica Delgado, state recommended. Patrick Ray Dexter, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Ryan Andrew Dickerson. Chad Barrett Dixon. Chong Dip, state recommended. Arlie Karina Diaz de Solano, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Aaron Prescott Dooley, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Blake Cortell Dozier. Cassidy Yell Driscoll. David Edward Duffy, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Kaylee Joe Dukeman, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Donald Patrick Dunaway. Hugh Pham Dong, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Trevor Jarte Eastman, state recommended. Derek Randall Edwards, state recommended. Daniel Martin Erb, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Adrian Marie Irvin, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Juan Antonio Escamilla, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Brenda Lee Esquivel, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Matthew Ryan Estrada. Jessica Dawn Evans. Valen Elizabeth Farmer, state recommended. Rahel Abe Fikedu, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jennifer Renee Fernandez, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Nicole Filkins, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Walter Carlos Fisher, state recommended. Jonathan Ryan Fleming, state recommended. Keithon Dwayne Fleming, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Holly Deanne Ford, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Eliana Emilia Fortis, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Stephanie Catherine Faust. Sal Fragroso. Kyle Glenn Gaffney, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Gregory Romeo Gaines, Jr., state recommended. Linda Ivana Gallegos, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Drauli Guadalupe Galvan, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Lindsay Michelle Gallion. Jacqueline Garcia, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Karen Mariela Garcia, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Leah Ruth Gaitan. Heather Lee Geffen, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Robin Nicole Geffen. Montrell Pierre Gladney, state recommended. Brandon Ray Gleason, state recommended. Ashley Renee Gormson, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Danielle Leah Graham. Jessica Lauren Graves. Lindsay Elizabeth Griffith, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Christopher Adam Griggs, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Tara Gail Hockey, state recommended. Christy Lynn Hales, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Anna Catherine Haney, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Andrew Tyler Harris, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Steve Sven Hartford, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Matthew Paul Harvey, state recommended. Michael Allen Harvey. George Warren Hawkins II, state recommended. Ronnie Joe Hawley, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Anthony Allen Hawthorne, state recommended. Derek Dwayne Head, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jason Heitman, state recommended. Shamika Shante Henderson, state recommended. James Edward Henry, state recommended. Jose Nieves Hernandez. Aurelia Hernandez, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Michael Don Hessel, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Amber Nicole Highsmith. Jennifer Dawn Herman, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Sarah Elizabeth Hapes, state recommended. Jody Lynn Holloway, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Yuri Huerta, state recommended, Texas Scholar. David Allen Coe Hughes. Maurice Emmanuel David Hunter. Justin Chikuma Ibe, state recommended, Texas Scholar. M. Tom Hoon M, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Brandon Michael Eastless, state recommended. John Cedric Eastless. Michael Deshaun Jackson, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Carlin Taylor Jacobs, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Luis Ulalo Jasso. Shay Mario Jefferson. Brian Douglas Johnson, 3-year grad, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Courtney Diane Johnson, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Grant Nicholas Johnson, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Lovett Cortez Johnson, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Russell Kyle Johnson, state recommended. Cedric Deshay Johnson. Angela Hilda Nicole, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Okay. Anne Renee Jones, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Michael Isaac Jones, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Christopher Michael Jordan, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Megan Ashley Jory, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Cassie Nicole Judah, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Keith Khalil, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Andy A. Kim, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Mark Andrew Kleinhans. Dritan Krasnicki, state recommended, Texas Scholar. James Michael Lacey Jr., state recommended, Texas Scholar. Nina Michelle Landis, state recommended. Brittany Renee Landrum, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Samantha Antoinette Large. Hua Lam Lee, state recommended. Kai Din Lee, state recommended. Ni Yuen Lee, state recommended. Devi Joan Lee, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jose Josimar Leonides, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jesse Lee Leverett, state recommended. Nastasia Cherie Lewis, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Cherie Renee Lewis, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Dawn Lindemood, state recommended. Amanda Michelle Lacrosto, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Seth Michael Lothar, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jeremy Denunte Lucky. Jimmy Lynch. Kellen Lee Mackey. Maria Del Rosario Magallanes, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Fernando de Jesus Maldonado. Courtney Nicole Manning, state recommended. Andrea Manriquez, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Matthew Blaine Manson, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Andrea Mardari, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Joshua Allen Markgraf. Andrea Rachel Markowski, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Jody Rafaela Martin, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Michael Anthony Mattingly. Jenna Michelle McCracken. Douglas Adam McDuffie, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Melissa Michelle Meters, state recommended. Adriana Mejia. Stephanie Tari Mendez, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Veronica Nicole Mendez, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Lawrence Courtney Miles, state recommended. Joseph Daniel Miller, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Marcus Dwayne Allen Miller, state recommended. Michael Lynn Mobley, state recommended. Trishna Sabina Mohammed, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Robert Wayne Money II, state recommended. Colin Kane Montgomery, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Matthew Joseph Montgomery, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Victoria Montiel, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Stephen Michael Montoya, state recommended. Brian Wayne Moore. Jason Michael Morris, state recommended. Barrett Richardson Muha, state recommended, Texas Scholar. Joseph Alexander Myers, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Chelsea Nicole Napper. Eric Moreno Navarrete, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jose Nerio, State Recommended. Hao Tan No, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Li Hong Wen, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tui Wen. Stefan Dwayne Nico, State Recommended. Yvette Chinwe Enjo Kuhani, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ann Elizabeth Okerson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Justin Wayne Odell, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Adrian Lynn Ogunfayemi, State Recommended. Uluchuku Imelda Onyema. Christina Raquel Addison. Jacqueline Rose Hikis Pargian, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Bongscorn Parasawan, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Esther Miran Park, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tashia Diaz Parker, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Amber Lynn Paramore, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jennifer Lee Patterson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ricardo Damian Ochoa, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Danisha Yvette Peavy. Lynette Murray Perkins, State Recommended. Darius Tremaine Perry. Tunisha Charday Perry, State Recommended. April Marie Peterson. Aaron Daniel Falsgraf. Philip Peachit Pongsatamong, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kelly Ann Pope, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Shelton Ryan Powell, State Recommended. Philip Kenneth Price, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Brooke Lee Prunty. Rolando Edgardo Quesada Jr., State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Elmer Antonio Quesada, State Recommended. Wandy Michelle Racine, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Juan Raimundo Ramirez. Guadalupe Ramos, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Ashley Marie Rankin, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jeffrey Scott Razor, State Recommended. Kelly Lendon Record, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jimmy Ray Revels. William Sidney Richards. Casey Lee Richardson. Anna Laura Robledo. Gabriel Martel Rodella. Corey Dwayne Rogers. Quentin John Rossi. Colin Jeffrey Rudolph, State Recommended. Adam David Sage. Jonathan Lee Salazar, State Recommended. Anna Marie Sanchez. Brian Anthony Sanchez. Stacy Michelle Sanford, State Recommended. Marari Bernadette Santos. Olivia Christine Schott, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Nicole Celeste Scott, State Recommended. Stephanie Luann Cerna, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Brian K. Sheffield. James Landon Shelton. Robert Luke Shelton, State Recommended. Phelan Scott Shiver. Jessica Ann Cifuentes, Texas Scholar. Fernanda Jimaris Marquez da Silva, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Christopher Lamont Simmons. Blake Jordan Simpson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jamesia Vache Sims. C. Fong Ellen Singh. Thomas James Stalling, State Recommended. Amber Marie Sloan, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Stephanie Michelle Smith, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Blake Garrick Spawn, State Recommended. Stephanie Renee Steele, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Crystal Nicole Steindorf, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Maxim Leonidovich Strelchik. Nicholas Glenn Sisk, State Recommended. Sean Jeffrey Stroll, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Angela Marie Swan, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Savannah Ray Sivrud, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Quentin Emery Taylor, State Recommended. Kelly Elijah Thompson, State Recommended. Kyle William Thompson, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jack Austin Timbrell III. Allison Michelle Timmons, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Lisa Marie Tipton. Grisha Paula Torres. Brandon Lee Troster, State Recommended. Jung Kang Sai, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Michael Carl Tuck, State Recommended. Robin Joel Tumax, State Recommended. Tasha Ann Turner. Vincent Obi Ukwu, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Logan Matthew Ulrich. Nicole Lee Valadez, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Stephanie Joy Van Orden, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Jerry Vasquez, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Kyle Clifton Villanueva. Jessica Gay Vinson. Fernando Violante, State Recommended. Jonathan James Wachter. Ashley Tennille Walker, State Recommended. Tony Lynn Walker, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Andrew Kirby Ward, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Christinette Antoinise Washington, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Zachariah Don Watkins. David Lawrence Wowack. Amanda Lee Whalen, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Tremaine DeJohn White, State Recommended. Clint Ryan Whitefoot. Lance Evan Wiley, State Recommended, Texas Scholar. Stevie Danielle Willers. Danielle Marie Williams, State Recommended. Jason Anthony Williams, State Recommended.
Catherine Lee Williams, state recommended. Cumonte Antonio Williams. Ricky James Williams, Jr., state recommended, Texas scholar. Tyrone Robeson Williams, state recommended. Christopher Roy Wilson, state recommended. Krista Joy Wilson, state recommended, Texas scholar. Nicole Marie Wilson, state recommended, Texas scholar. Ashley Nicole Winston, state recommended. Daniel Lucas Weiser. Girumnesh S. Wondimu, state recommended. Brian Matthew Woods, state recommended, Texas scholar. Christopher John Ring, state recommended, Texas scholar. Benjamin Ern Roble. Rodney David Yates, state recommended, Texas scholar. Hualong Yun Yi, state recommended, Texas scholar. Jessica Michelle Young, state recommended, Texas scholar. Juan Wong Lee, state recommended, Texas scholar. Margarita Magali Trujillo. Chase Hunter Loggins, state recommended, Texas scholar.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now graduates of the class of 2004. If you will now rise for the alma mater.